According to an ICE lawyer, he was employed by the Immigration and Customs Enforcement up until February 13th, when he abruptly resigned after being reassigned to the Georgia training facility for these thousands of new ICE recruits. But according to this man who had worked as a lawyer for ICE, these new recruits, these cadets going through ICE training, are literally being taught to violate the constitutional rights of people here in the United States. Specifically, this man, Ryan Schwenk, told members of Congress last week, or actually this week, he said they're being taught to enter homes without a search warrant, which, as everyone should know, is a violation of our constitutional rights. Law enforcement from any division, any department, cannot just walk through your front door unless you invite them, right? Kind of like a vampire, I guess. They can't come in unless they either have the warrant or unless you invite them in. But these new recruits, according to the lawyer who was instructed to train them, they're being told, don't worry about warrants. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Don't worry about that pesky little Constitution thing. It's an old document anyway. Just do it. Let me read this. And by the way, Mr. Schwenk here spoke to Democrats. They're the ones who put together, it wasn't a hearing. It was more of a, we just want to know what the hell's going on. You know, because Republicans controlling the House and Senate, they wouldn't have a real hearing where we'd get to listen to things like this. But anyway, he said he was most troubled by an agency memo signed by Acting Director Todd Lyons that asserted federal officers can forcibly enter a home without a judicial warrant, a move that constitutional scholars, immigration experts, and a federal judge say is a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. The memo dates back to May of 2025 and was made public in late January. Never in my career have I ever received such a blatantly unlawful order, nor one conveyed in such a troubling manner, Schwenk said. Incredibly, I was being shown this memo in secret by my supervisor, who made sure that I understood that disobedience could cost me my job. In the name of churning out an endless stream of officers, DHS leadership has dismantled the academic and practical tests that we need to know if cadets can safely and lawfully perform their job. ICE made the program shorter, and they removed so many essential parts that what remains is a dangerous husk. Now, on the training part that he's talking about here, he is not the first person working at the Department of Homeland Security who came out and said this. One of them literally described it as a shit show. So the lack of training these officers are now receiving in order to get them on the streets as fast as possible is bad enough. But unfortunately, the little bit of training they are receiving is to tell them, hey, don't worry about the Fourth Amendment. You guys can just go into anybody's homes anytime you want and look for immigrants. You know, make sure you lift up couches and check underneath beds too. This is terrifying. And I've used the word terrifying, I think, probably too much over the last year. Not that I'm applying it to things that are not terrifying, but kind of feel like I almost need to make up a new word at this point to truly convey what is happening in this country. The rule of law does not exist. It doesn't exist for our politicians anymore. It doesn't exist for the federal law enforcement. It doesn't exist at the DOJ. I mean, Pam Bondi's still in violation of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It doesn't apply to millionaires and billionaires. They get off with everything. No justice for the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. The rule of law simply doesn't exist for a certain class of people here in the United States. And the few rights that the rest of us have are being trampled on repeatedly with absolutely no accountability for those doing the trampling And in this particular instance, ICE recruits are being trained to trample all over our rights. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to like and comment and share widely among your friends.